If you've never played Bioshock, first of all, change that immediately. And second of all, this video will contain spoilers, so consider yourself warned. In Bioshock, we play as Jack, a completely normal guy traveling to visit his family, when suddenly, his plane crashes, which honestly is to be expected anytime a plane shows up in a game or a movie. Luckily, we manage to survive and find ourselves right next to this conveniently placed lighthouse, which naturally we venture into. Inside, we get access to the city of Rapture, an underwater paradise, or so it would seem. But we'll get more to that in a sec. For now, let's talk about the platinum. With a total of 54 trophies including the platinum, a difficulty rating of 4 out of 10, and roughly taking 15 hours to complete, we can split our platinum trophy journey into 2 stages. Stage 1 is to play through the game of any difficulty you want and gather all collectibles, upgrades, and research. Stage 2 is to complete the game on survival difficulty, without using a Vita Chamber. Vita Chambers are just Bioshock's take on the respawn system, and this setting needs to be turned off in the game settings to unlock the trophy. Now, technically, you can complete the trophy in one playthrough if you play on survival difficulty and collect everything in the same playthrough, but honestly, that doesn't sound fun in the slightest, so that's not the route I decided to take in this video. Okay, time to get down to the wonderful world of Rapture. Rapture was built by Andrew Ryan, a man who basically wanted to build a world free of government control, taxation, or religious authority. So naturally, the best spot for this is at the bottom of the ocean. He built his utopia and filled it with the world's best and brightest, including scientists, artists, and industrial leaders, so that they could thrive without the restrictions of normal society. And Rapture did just that. It thrived. Until it didn't. Rapture lasted around 9 years after its official completion in 1951, falling into complete civil war on New Year's Eve of 1959. Turns out filling a city with people with zero rules or restrictions, and filling them with a sea slug goo that has the ability to change your genetic code, yes, that's right, sea slug goo, things tend to go a bit crazy. That sea slug goo, they named Adam, basically gave some people superpowers and sent others insane. These insane residents gained the name Splicers, because they spliced their DNA. After taking a ride down from the lighthouse to Rapture in this mini submarine thing called a bathysphere, we're introduced to our first Splicer. But luckily, we have a friend to help guide us through Rapture, and his name is Atlas. Now, Atlas is basically our lifeline throughout the game, giving us directions, telling us what to do, and most importantly, keeping us alive, which is pretty useful down here. After Atlas expertly uses a sentry bot to help us escape our first Splicer encounter, we get our first weapon, the wrench. So now we do our best Ratchet impersonation.
Another wrench.
And start whacking away these splicers. Ammo is fairly scarce early on, so a melee weapon is very helpful. But shortly after, we get introduced to our first plasmid, which is basically a superpower in a bottle. These range anywhere from electricity, fire, ice, telekinesis, and more. We've officially entered the Sea Slug Goo superpower game. In order to complete the platinum, we're going to unlock every plasmid the game has to offer. We also need to unlock every weapon upgrade, find every radio diary, unlock a total of 48 tonics, which are basically just different upgrades, along with a bunch of trophies related to hacking, locking, etc., and a few miscellaneous trophies as well. Our first trophy doesn't take us long as we zap some splicers standing in water for the trophy Toaster in a Tub. It also doesn't take us long to complete the first section of the game, as it's more or less like a tutorial, which we are then rewarded with another trophy for Completed Welcome. Next trophy comes up fairly quick too, as we get one for hacking a security bot and another one straight after for one successful hack. Here is where we find our first radio diary. With these, I would suggest using a guide because some of them are missable, and if you're not paying attention, you'll end up missing some and needing to restart your playthrough or load an earlier save if you figure it out early enough. It's now time to enter the medical win, which is not inviting to say the least. We found our next plasmid, which is Incinerate, which comes in handy as there's lots of places where there are some sections blocked by ice, which we can melt with our new power. We eventually make our way through, fighting off different splicers, and at the end we get to our first boss, Dr. Steinman, who very rudely starts blasting at us at first sight, so we kindly return the favour and put the good doctor to rest.
Defeated Dr. Steinman.
Next, we are introduced to our first little sister and big daddy. Little sisters are these little girls that got experimented on, and now their sole purpose is to collect the atom from corpses. And the big daddies are basically their bodyguards. Now here we're given a choice of harvesting the atom from the little girls or saving them. For the platinum, we're going for the saving them option, as there's a trophy for saving all the little sisters. After dispatching another big daddy and saving our second little sister, we're on to the next section, which is the fish market. So we make our way through, fighting off different splices and collecting everything we can along the way. Eventually we are introduced to the research camera, something we'll need to use for the rest of the game to snap photos of every enemy type multiple times until the research is complete. Completing different stages of the research will also unlock bonuses such as extra damage, and this research is also linked to a bunch of trophies as well. Next, we get the trophy Skilled Hacker for hacking 50 things. And then we run into our second boss, Peach Wilkins. And I think I hacked a turret or sentry bot here, which killed him off screen, which is a bit anticlimactic, but hey, we get another trophy. After defeating Wilkins, we're rewarded with our first weapon upgrade station, and that comes with a trophy. We'll need to find all of these for the platinum. Here we enter Smuggler's Run. Atlas tells us his family is just up ahead, trapped inside a bathysphere, so we're rushing to help. But Andrew Ryan, the guy who built Rapture, if you remember, has a different idea, as he unleashes the splices on Atlas, forcing him to run, and as we approach the bathysphere, it explodes, killing Atlas's family. Atlas, obviously stricken with grief and revenge, asks for help in taking down Ryan, so that's the new objective. On to the next area, which is Arcadia. Here Ryan tries to slow down our progress by poisoning the forest and straight up gassing this lady. So we have to collect ingredients from around the area to create a cure to help restore the forest, which in turn gives us our next trophy. With the forest saved, we can move on to the next section, Fort Frolic. Fort Frolic or Fort Frolic? Which is a casino theater type area and of course is being run by a complete lunatic. But before we get too far into that, we have another trophy to unlock by winning the jackpot on these slot machines. Now, we're introduced to Sander Cohen, who's blocked our access to the bathysphere, and will only open it if we help him complete his masterpiece, which consists of us taking out 3 specific people and taking photos of their corpses. You know, just normal Rapture things. Oh, also he decides to blow up this guy on the piano because, well, because. So we go off, take out the people and snap their final photos for Sander Cohen. We can then add the photos to the statue on stage, and then as a reward we get some splices thrown at us, and then we get a present. Very mixed signals coming from this guy. After all that, Sander will finally show himself, but it's important we don't attack him just yet, as we need him alive to access his apartment a bit later on. So with all that said and done, the bathysphere is open to us again, and we can move on to Rapture Control, where we also get another weapon upgrade. And as we get closer, Andrew Ryan decides to pull the self-destruct on the whole damn city just to spite us. So using that as an incentive to pick up the pace, we race through the next section, making sure not to miss any of the radio guides on the way, as we are finally face to face with Andrew Ryan himself. He gives some speech about slaves and man and something about would you kindly, I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention. I'm sure it's nothing important. Anyway, time to gear up for the final boss fight. Or not. We just beat him to death with his own golf club. A bit anticlimactic, but oh well. Time to turn off that self-destruct. So, big spoiler alert here. Turns out Atlas, the guy we've been helping the whole time, doesn't actually exist, and his real name is actually Frank Fontaine. And he's been controlling us the whole time with the phrase, "Would you kindly?" Turns out, everything about us is just implanted memories. Yep, our family and everything was just put there by Frank, and he's awakened us or something, and also caused the plane crash somehow? Yeah, look, I don't actually 100% understand, but Atlas is now the big bad guy, and we've taken it upon ourselves to put a stop to his evil ways. So off we go killing again.
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
Alright, we got a bunch of trophies in a very short period of time here, so I'm just going to list them off real quick. We got a trophy here, maxed out all tracks for unlocking all upgrade slots. Another one, fully researching the Rosie Big Daddy. another one for fully researching the Little Sisters, one for tonic collector for collecting 58 total tonics, another for fully researching the Houdini splicer, one for dealing with every little sister, and next we get a trophy for collecting all the pieces of the Big Daddy armor set, which allows us to cosplay as a Big Daddy, which we need to do to call out a little sister so we can do a little escort mission section to help us get to the next section. Now, it's time for the final boss fight against Frank Fontaine. But before we do that, there's 2 trophies we need to backtrack for, and that's Weapon Specialist for finding all the weapon upgrade stations, and finally Historian for finding all those radio diaries. And with those out of the way, it's time to head up on the elevator and put an end to Frank Fontaine. Now, to unlock that platinum for Bioshock, we need to complete the game on survival difficulty, with Vita Chambers turned off. And up until this point, I've been playing on easy to make sure I got all the collectibles on this playthrough. But after some late night reading, I found out that if you haven't died up until this point, you can actually change the difficulty now to survival, turn Vita Chambers off, and then finish the boss fight, and you'll unlock all of the difficulty related all the difficulty related trophies. Oh, and full disclosure, I somehow didn't hit record on the actual fight with Fontaine on survivor difficulty, so I had to do it for a second time, but I did it on easy because I'm lazy, so if it seems super easy, that's why. The fight on survival isn't actually that hard as long as you play smart and keep moving. Anyway, so we find Fontaine absolutely jacked up on Adam. Dude's looking like he's been training for Mr. Olympia or something, except he's got all the powers that come with Adam, and he's going to throw all of them at us. I found the grenade launcher as the most effective weapon here. That and hacking the security bots that come out to keep the splices that Fontaine throws at you at bay a little bit. Basically, once you deal enough damage to him, he runs back to his Adam injection machine to heal. And that's when we take the opportunity to drain the Adam out of him. You just have to repeat this process 4 times and then he'll be severely weakened, enough for the Little Sisters to take their revenge on Fontaine and drain the remainder of the Adam out of him, finally putting an end to Frank Fontaine. I'm not sure how the ending would go if you don't save all the Little Sisters and actually harvest them. So yeah, I don't know if that would change. Surely that would change the ending a bit. Anyway, after defeating Atlas or Fontaine, we get a bunch of trophies all at once. We get 1 trophy for defeating Atlas, 1 trophy for completing the game on Survivor without using a Vita Chamber, 1 for completing the game on Hard without using a Vita Chamber, 1 for completing the game on Survivor, 1 for saving all the Little Sisters, and 1 for completing the game on Hard. Alright, with all that set and done, there's only 3 trophies I missed on that first playthrough. So it's on to New Game Plus to finish up and get this platinum trophy. First one is a trophy for fully researching the bouncer. I don't know how I didn't get this on the first playthrough, but anyway. Next is Research PhD for fully researching every anime type. And lucky last, before the platinum, is Avid Inventor for inventing 100 items. The easiest way to do this is save up a bunch of your inventing materials, and then save the game, invent as much stuff as you can, and then load the previous save. So you can just spam that a couple of times if you don't end up inventing enough stuff on your first playthrough. And with all of that said and done, we finally unlocked the platinum trophy for Bioshock. This took me a bit longer than the guide said. It took me about 17 hours, but that's probably because I did a fair bit of backtracking for some of those collectibles. But yeah, that is it for Bioshock. Thank you for watching, and if you managed to make it all the way to the end, then I would ask, would you kindly subscribe and keep an eye out for the next video?